Greetings, friend. Welcome back. Right, so this may very well be the last video for a while on this build, this Alpha Shield build, and thus I will try to make it a complete package so you don't have to watch the like 5 or so videos I've done on this build. A few of them might be a little redundant and not worth looking at, but I digress. So this Alpha Shield build, we'll start from the top. This Alpha Shield build was a build that an old court mate, Reticle, the infamous Blue Star player, used kind of at the beginning of Dark Nebula, kind of a few months after it released. I guess he saw that everyone was using Vengeance with the Alpha Shield and the Amplifier, and he figured, wanted to just drop the Vengeance and use something a bit more useful, a bit more versatile, I guess you could say. So he used this build for a good while before joining along with the meta, as it were. So it is have an Alpha Shield, an Amplifier. He used Suspend, but we'll get back to Suspend. A Decoy and Repair Drone, right? Or, well, he had BS6 because everyone had BS6, so he had a Repair Drone, but because I have BS7, I can use whatever I want, and for this, Decoy Drone is like a perfect fit. Right, so this ensures that each ship has a few ways of dealing with a sector. You have Alpha and Amp to deal with planet sectors, and then you have Suspend and also Decoy and Repair Drone to deal with the other sectors. Amplifier also, Alpha Shield and Amplifier also for bomber sectors too, as you'll see. So I will go over the basic strategy again, just one last time, and then from there, we'll get into some experiments, some theory crafting that I won't be showing now, but I might in a distant future. So at the very beginning, you will want to use your amplifier and your alpha shield to kill 3 bomber sectors, including the bombers themselves, of course. This just ensures that your alpha shield, because it has a pretty long cooldown, it will go on cooldown and then, be ready. Excuse me. It'll be ready once you try to, or once you kill the destroyers, and also, this just makes it so that bombers are less of an issue when you're clearing things out, too. I did kind of had a bit of a delay there, so I did take a full rocket salvo to the face because I activated my shield a bit late there. And so, yeah, after that, you'll want to use Suspend, Decoy, whatever, what have you, to kill any filler sectors that aren't planet sectors but are kind of in the way. They fill in the star, as it were. So, and Suspend for the more dangerous ones like this Phoenix sector, for example. I couldn't really use Decoy to get through this all entirely, but Decoy can be used for some of the lighter spawns. Like the Hydra sector sometimes doesn't have a Phoenix and just has like a handful of Sentinels and Guardians along with the Storm, so Decoy can tank all that, no problem. It can't quite deal with the Colossus filler sector because there's a bit more firepower in there with all these Sentinels and a lot of the Guardians, and sometimes there's 2 Colossi, so can't quite handle that. It can handle the Guardian filler sectors because the Guardians can do a fair amount of damage to your hull if all of them are hitting at the same time, especially. So yeah, just sort of improvise. Use what you can to knock out some of these sectors. So there's a Phoenix sector over here, so I'm using Suspend to to slow everyone down, firstly, I was using, well, mainly the darts, but the stirrups as well, to break the Phoenix shield, because that's the main goal, to get through the shield. So the easiest way to do this is to teleport across from the Phoenix, ideally on top of some unshielded signals or any serb, really, and then try to path across whenever the Phoenix goes towards you, like over here. So I teleport onto that asteroid. The Phoenix moves towards me, I go the opposite way. That way, not only do I get some damage on the Phoenix's hull, assuming it's quick enough, um, I also get to break the shield with the storm darts. And if you're in the middle of the sector, the storm darts have a small chance of hitting you, and even if they do, it's not going to be that much damage because of the suspend damage reduction. So that's what I've done here, for that sector. Using, well, this ship needed a heal, so using repair drone on these guardians, because they do hit hard enough to actually kill the repair drone. And then, of course, you can knock out some of the other bombers. Like this star had 6 bombers, I guess 5 adjacent bombers, really. So I was using one ship to take these out. Luckily, these are just Guardian bomber sectors, which don't really require much. You can use decoy on the Guardians if you need to, and then you can just follow the bomber around loosely, not too precisely as where you take splash damage all the time, just sort of kind of follow it around a little bit here and there. Right. And yeah, I used the ship to take out these 2 bomber sectors pretty reliably. And so after your suspend or your decoy or whatever, there's a cooldown period. This is where I would usually sit on these storms, because these storms don't really require any mods to kill. Ideally, you would want to take out any bombers in these storm sectors immediately, because the storm bomber combo sector tends to be a bit more dangerous than the Guardian bomber sector, because you can kill the Guardians well before the bomber rockets reach you. So all you will have to deal with is the bomber. Whereas here, the storms are constantly moving around, and if your mass battery is taken up by excuse me, by a bomber and a storm, and your next to an asteroid that it's next to, one of those rockets is likely going to hit you. So again, if you had to choose between a Guardian bomber sector and one of these storm bomber sectors, go for the storm bomber, because they're a bit more dangerous. I didn't do that here because I kind of didn't see that there was a bomber there initially. So yeah, so the cooldown period, just sort of sit around, deal with the storms, and the main reason for this is just to get your alpha shield off cooldown. You can use amplifier. Once your alpha shield cooldown hits 2 minutes, you can use amplifier to kill the storms or the bombers quicker. However, I don't really like to do that because of the possibility of ghosts, because amplified ghosts hit for a truck, so would rather not do that. And plus, well, technically interceptors as well. You wouldn't want amplified interceptor guns, even though they don't hit that hard. They can still do a fair amount of damage to you for their hull. Also, in the meantime, using decoy and repair drone to tank ghosts. I mean, that was a poor example because the ghosts were on the other side of me, but still. And that's the main thing with the drones here. The decoy and the repair drone really make it so you take very, very little damage from ghosts, which are kind of the main constant damage you have to worry about, because you can always shield or suspend yourself from the other servers, but ghosts are constant. They are always spawning, and they do a fair amount of damage to your hull. So utilizing drones, and especially if one ship's drones are on cooldown, you can kind of swap your ships around so one can tank for you and whatnot. So or swap a battleship whose drones aren't on cooldown, I should say. So the cooldown period is over. The alpha shields have come off cooldown, So now, we jump back on the planets, mainly to kill the destroyers, which should have plenty of time before they destroy the planet. Even for the adjacent planets to the star, you should have plenty of time. Yeah, and like also stagger them. So I teleported this one first, and once this teleport had completed, and I activated my alpha shield and amplifier, I then moved to the next ship. I don't do all three at the same time because depending on what the spawn is, you might have to do a different thing for different spawns. So keeping them staggered. I mean, also there's plenty of time, so there's no need to rush really. So all three of them have their alpha shield and amplifier up. I use repair drone if I need to in case my hull is kind of low from all the killing, the filler sectors, I should say. Um, and yeah, and also this does give you kind of a breather as well. So yeah, so something I said before, which might not be as applicable now, or it's kind of redundant, I guess. I said that you could just stay in the sector and use suspend right after, which you still can do. But I kind of prefer to leave the sector for a few reasons. One, it'll give me more ships to play with when I get my civilian ships in. And two, more often than not, there's always like a pack of ghosts or what have you just in the sector sometimes that might mess with things, or signals are still alive because your guns are taken up by all the guardians and the colossus and whatnot. So most of the time you'll have to teleport out anyway, and if I teleport all three of my ships out, I can use all three of them for defense and whatnot, rather than being stuck in a sector with suspend, which will, kill the Hydra and Phoenix. But you can always come back to that after everything has calmed down a bit. So on this one, while I could have sat in this sector with suspend right after, these ghosts have started spawning. And ghosts, even though they'll do reduced damage, still can do a lot if two of your mass paths are taken up by a couple of capital ships. And then these two sectors still had a fair amount of Serb still left, especially this one with all the signals. So just teleport out on all three of them. Again, no big deal. You can always come back with suspend later on, right? So this is around the time I get the civilian ships in, get some defense going, get my decoy. Again, wrong direction, but it's fine. So yeah, go in defense mode once the civilian ships are in. Likely use one ship to kill things because you don't need all three to defend, but it helps to have extra. But once everything is kind of settled down, everything is safe, you can then work on the planet level 11 sectors again. And this is what I was talking about. I can teleport out and then come back with suspend. So this is like, I guess, if we're going to talk about phases, right? This is like, what, phase 4? Yeah, we'll go with that, phase 4. First phase, killing the bombers. Second phase, dealing with the filler sectors. Phase 3, it's a cooldown period. Phase 4, I guess phase 4 is coming back to the planet with Alpha and burning everything down. So this is like phase 5, where you kind of finish up, really. So yeah, so this was kind of the thing with suspend that I wanted to highlight here. It's not really all that necessary. I'm going to be honest. Pretty good example here. Now, I don't know how high my hull was, but my suspend couldn't quite finish off a half-dead Phoenix and a half-dead Hydra before it got really low. Now, this ship might have honestly just been low on hull when it started. I'm not too sure, but either way, you don't really need suspend. There's a bit of a flexibility in the build. You could replace suspend with other things, which we'll get back to at the end for theory crafting, but just something to note. So on here, I went back in with my repair drone just so I wouldn't die. Um, and yeah, letting the civilian ships do their thing. Same thing over here. This one was almost dead because of my suspend efforts last time. I teleported out because of some ghosts that were over here, so I couldn't quite finish it, but it was practically almost done. And then down here is the reason I say that you might not need suspend, because by the time you would use suspend, your alpha shield will likely have maybe like a 2-minute cooldown at that point. So you can just wait a couple more minutes and then come back with alpha shield and amplifier and guarantee knock out the Hydra and the Phoenix. So there's a little bit of a leeway there with the build, as I said. And so from here, it's just defending and loading up and all that. So it's pretty much done, right? So yeah, just one more from the top. Just one more talking about the strategy here. So phase one, deal with the bombers with your alpha shield and your amplifier, right? And then phase two, deal with the filler sectors, primarily the entry sectors, because you're going to have to be, coming back to that pretty soon. But just any sector that you can deal with your suspend or other combat mod, and decoy drone and repair drone, So this one is down here is dealing with bombers. These two are dealing with the storms, whatnot. You can also deal with the guardian sectors too while you're at it, if you have time. Right? So okay, I guess phase 2 and 3 are kind of merged because they're kind of the same thing. The cooldown period is also kind of the filler sector period, but we'll just say phase 3, deal with the storms. Sit on the storms while your cooldowns are still going, because then it require mods to kill. Using your decoy, if you still have them, to tank any ghosts that come your way, of course. Right? And then phase 4, once your alpha shield and amplifier come off cooldown, use them again to kill the destroyer primarily, and just stay in there until the alpha shield gets low. Now, one method to make this much more efficient, because I tend to prioritize the destroyer, but instead what I could do is teleport onto the Phoenix. Well, yeah, most likely the Phoenix, because if I teleport onto the Phoenix and then move towards the planet, I can get a lot of free damage on the Phoenix. So the Phoenix's shield doesn't shield its own hull; it shields its allies, because it's area shield. So in essence, instead of doing this, and all that time, I'm not doing any damage to the Phoenix. Although I guess I was doing damage to the Hydra, but sometimes the Hydra and the Phoenix are pretty far from the planet, so I can teleport onto the Phoenix and move towards the planet. That way I get a lot of free damage on the Phoenix's hull. And that way, whenever I come back to the planet with Suspend, which is the next phase, a Suspend has a much higher chance of outlasting the Surge before my hull gets low. Okay, so this one's hull was pretty decently high, although I guess maybe not with the ghosts there. Not too sure, but so yeah, as you can see, that Phoenix would be much lower on hull, maybe like 10k, 10,000 less hull or so if I had landed on it, then moved towards the planet. But yeah, that's just an efficiency tweak. If there are bombers in the sector, you jump on those instead and then move towards the planet, because you want those knocked out as soon as possible. But if there are no bombers, probably jump on the Phoenixes instead. So yeah, so after that, teleport out, get the civilian ships in, because at this point it's like the 4-minute mark. It seems to always be the 4-minute mark or so. And then, once you deal with your defense, kind of make sure everything is safe, then go back to dealing with these planet level 11 sectors as you see fit. So, yeah, okay, this one was kind of missing like 4,000 or so hull. I'm guessing it's the yeah, I'm guessing it was all the signals. I got it pretty low there, but I guess it would have been okay if it sat in there. I just didn't want to take the chance in case interceptors got its hold too low. Um, but yeah, so use suspend to deal with the rest, or just wait for your alpha shield to come back off cooldown and deal with it then. I guess you could just stay on defense if you didn't want to use your suspend to take out the rest of these sectors. You could just go on defense and then come back with alpha shield. Uh, Possibility, definitely. Um, so I guess from here, I guess I can talk about the other uh, possibilities, the other build varieties you can do instead of using suspend, right? I feel that every other mod in this build are kind of essential. Even decoy drone, pretty essential. Not taking damage from ghosts is pretty nice, and also guardians as well. So I guess we'll start with the easiest one, right? So this EMP. EMP would definitely help you take out the Phoenix storm sector, like up here. You could wait until a storm is on top of the Phoenix, and then just EMP both of them. Which is kind of how I used to do it when I had Region Shield. I would just EMP both of those Serbs. Um, the storm will likely fire, and thus you can break the Phoenix shield off of the storm darts, um, and go from there. Of course, it won't really help you when killing the Phoenix that's like half dead by this point, because EMP with your average Solitude and Mass Bet, yeah, it'll do like 25,000 or so damage, so you won't quite kill it, and you'll be taking full damage from the Phoenix's dual laser, which admittedly isn't a whole lot, right? Um, yeah, 140. Okay, I guess that is kind of a bit, but for how much hold it has, of course. So that is one option, and also EMP has a very short cooldown at 2 minutes, so you can use it in a lot of different scenarios. Like over here in these Colossus sectors that can be in the way sometimes. You could use EMP for these, although again, you might have to clump up the Serbs. Like if you teleport here, wait for them all to come to you, then leave, and then come back with EMP. That might be a valid way to do it too. And so yeah, EMP does have a lot of um, versatility in its use, because you can EMP bombers as well to do a lot of free damage to them too. So EMP does have a pretty good reason to be used, I guess. I can't think of words right now. I'm sorry. Um, so that's EMP. The other one would be Vengeance. Funnily enough, this used to be my Vengeance build. Just replace the spin with Vengeance, but I had two other region shield brawlers too. Um, so one thing I will say about Vengeance, although you do have to make sure your hull is high enough to use Vengeance before jumping onto a planet, these planets, well, my vengeance ship can take out an entire planet without having to come back to it. So, well, it depends on like if there are bombers in the sector and whatnot, but um, 9 times out of 10, vengeance with alpha shield and amplifier can knock out an entire planet level 11. So you don't have to go back to the planet level 11s. That does present the problem with dealing with all the filler sectors, right? Like oh, battery's getting low. Well, if you can see that. Um, the filler sectors, you won't have anything but decoy to deal with them, right? Now, there is the possibility, like at the very beginning, when you alpha shield all the bombers, right? And then you wait until you're. Well, actually, no, that's right. You would have to jump on them anyway, but you could just wait until your alpha shield comes back and then deal with a sector like this. It's a possibility, definitely. It depends on how many Phoenix Storm sectors there are. But I could see vengeance being a thing. You just have to watch your hull very carefully because you don't want your vengeance going off accidentally out of nowhere. Uh, so yeah, that is a possibility. I guess the order of operations for that is you do the same first thing, right? You alpha and amplifier the ghosts, right? And then once those are on cooldown, I guess you can work on the storms and also the guardian bomber sectors in the meantime. Well, actually, no. I guess you couldn't because then once your alpha shield comes off cooldown, then you would hit the planets. Yeah. I don't know. That one might be a little tricky, but it's definitely possible. Like this sector here, you don't really need to spend to deal with it, but you would probably want something. You could do the same thing, jump on some unshielded Serbs and then move across the sector while the Phoenix is going towards your previous location. Um, but yeah, the likelihood, well, one, you'll be taking a lot of damage from all the signals, the shielded signals, and also the Phoenix itself. And if a dart happens to hit you, it will really sting. So I don't know. Vengeance does have possibility, but more testing required. So that's vengeance. Some other honorable mentions really would be barrier because you can use barrier to kill the storms pretty easily, and like does not have to worry about rockets or anything like that for a good second. Does have pretty limited use, but it has a very short cooldown as well, so possibility there. Um, what else is there? The okay, yeah, there is the Omega rockets, which would definitely help. Like in a sector like this, you could use Omega rocket to break the Phoenix shield immediately and kill all the signals in range, of course. Um, it can also help with these sectors too if you group them all up and then just hit them with the Omega rocket. And Omega rocket does have I mean, it's an average cooldown of 3 minutes, so it's not too bad. You can use it multiple times, but Omega rocket has a very kind of a low damage explosion compared to some other explosions, right? So I believe at level 12 it's like 8,000. Like not enough to kill a Dark Guardian. Okay, I guess it is enough. Maybe it's 7,000. I'm thinking of. Just a second. Okay, yeah. So level 12 is 7,000. So you need level 13 to one shot Guardians, which I guess you don't really need to one shot them because you can just let your mass bat finish them off. But still, you could use Omega Rocket to just to explode your way through some tougher sectors. And again, it does have it's pretty versatile. You can use it to break Phoenix shields. You can use it to group up Serbs and then explode them all at once. That sort of thing. Same thing with remote bomb. Although remote bomb, although it does way more damage, it might kind of have the same thing as suspend where you don't really use it more than once. Although you don't really need to spend in easier stars. Like if there are no Phoenix sectors and there's nothing but Guardians blocking the filler sectors, then you wouldn't likely need suspend outside of the finishing up the planet. But like I said, you don't need suspend to do that either because you can just wait for your alpha shield again. So there's possibilities with remote bomb because you could use that to pretty much kill the Phoenix and Hydra. When it's those two left, you can use it and jump out, and they shouldn't be able to kill the remote bomb before it goes off. So there's possibility there. And I don't think I am missing any other combat mod, am I? Not quite. Destiny was kind of risky. I did touch on Fortify the previous time or the time before. And that would definitely, boost your damage, but it might be more of a detriment in some scenarios. So pretty risky there. You can't use Bond in Red Stars anymore. Yeah, and of course, I mean, like I know there's Leap, but the whole reason of me doing this was just to get a break from Leap. Well, actually, it was to get a break from Regen Shield, but before, which is to get a break from Leap, I was using Suspend instead of Leap. Um, but yeah, so I mean, you could use Leap, I guess, if you wanted to remove Decoy or Repair Drone, but I wouldn't really do that because they keep you alive a lot. So, but hey, it's you could try it out if you want. I'll just theory crafting here. So yeah, I don't really know what else you could use. I guess it is just you could use EMP instead of Suspend or Vengeance instead of Suspend. They both have possibility. Most likely EMP though, but yeah. So that's that really. So yeah. So again, this might be the last time I do anything on this because again, I don't really like recording the same thing over and over again. I prefer to if I do record something again, it'd be because I've learned something new. And in this case, it was teleporting out like after the Alpha Shield and Amplifier are expired from the planet sector. Just teleport out because you don't really need to use Suspend after that, and also again, Suspend might not even be needed at all. It depends. So, but for now, I'll keep Suspend on my ships because I do find it way easier to deal with the Phoenix Storm sectors than using EMP. EMP, there's a lot of things that could happen in that time, while you're just sitting there with EMP. Like adjacent storms could be in range of you. Bombers that you have yet to kill could launch a salvo before you get a ship on them. Things like that. So I don't know. Again, possibilities all around. So yeah, did I? Yeah. So again, final video on this build for a while. I am going to try to level up some of my combat mods more and see how they fare. I also do realize that I have very low level mods for what people have nowadays because I was kind of at the end game. I mean, I guess I still am, but I was kind of ahead of most people. But I took a long break at some point, unintentionally, of course. So I still have level 12, uh, uh, weapons and level 13 combat mods. I'm pretty close to 14, but not quite. So, in other words, if you had more firepower, Suspend might be much more. Well, Suspend and EMP might be much more effective at what you're doing. So, again, there's possibilities for improvement and whatnot, but I will have to see how all that plays out. So, but yeah, so that is all. I hope you enjoyed my foray into this odd build that a corp may briefly use like years ago. It's been a lot of fun experimenting with these things. It always is. And if you want to try something that isn't Regen Shield and you don't feel like waiting for Andreas to balance his game, something to try out in the meantime. So yeah, so I will see you around. Ta ta for now.